As Prince Siddhartha grew into a young man, the palace of Kapilavastu celebrated him with pride. He was graceful in manner, wise beyond his years, and compassionate toward every living being. The king, determined to protect his son from the harshness of the world, surrounded him with music, festivals, gardens, and every comfort a kingdom could offer. But despite the beauty and luxury around him, something deep within Siddhartha began to stir, a quiet restlessness like a distant bell echoing across the mountains. At times, he would stand alone on the palace balconies, gazing beyond the walls into the vast world he had never truly seen. The sky, the horizon, the winding roads, disappearing into the distance. They seemed to whisper to him. A sense of longing grew in his heart, not for pleasures, not for power, but for understanding. He began to notice small things that others overlooked. The wrinkles around an old servant's eyes, the tired posture of a farmer delivering grain, the sorrow in a musician's voice during a melancholy song. These sights touched him deeply, though he did not yet fully understand why. Life inside the palace was crafted to be perfect, but he sensed that beyond its walls lay truths that no one had taught him. One evening, during a grand celebration held in his honor, Siddhartha sat quietly in the midst of music and laughter. The dances were lively, the torches bright, yet his heart felt distant. He watched the joy around him, but instead of being comforted, he felt a strange heaviness. Why do people suffer? He wondered silently. Why do joy and sorrow coexist in this world? And is there a path that leads beyond these endless waves of change? That night, long after the festivities had ended, Siddhartha walked through the silent palace corridors. The moonlight spilled across the stone floors as he wandered, lost in thought. He felt, with growing certainty, that the life he had known, no matter how beautiful, was incomplete. Something essential was hidden from him, something he needed to see with his own eyes. It was the beginning of an awakening, a spark that would soon ignite into the great journey of understanding that would change not only his life, but the lives of countless beings across time. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Yet, the questions in Siddhartha's heart only grew deeper. Though he lived in a palace filled with music, beautiful gardens, and countless pleasures, his mind often wandered to the world beyond the walls. One day, as the sun rose over the golden rooftops, Siddhartha asked his charioteer, Channa, to take him outside the palace grounds. He had been protected for so long, sheltered from all forms of suffering, but something inside him urged him to see the world as it truly was. Reluctantly, Channa obeyed. And so began the journey that would forever change the prince's destiny. As their chariot rolled through the streets of Kapilavastu, Siddhartha suddenly noticed an old man frail, bent over, his hands trembling as he walked. Deep wrinkles lined his face, and each step seemed to cost him great effort. Confused, Siddhartha turned to Channa. Why does this man look so weak? Why is his body so fragile? Channa lowered his gaze. My prince, this is old age. All who live long enough will experience this. The body grows weak. The hair turns white. The strength fades. Siddhartha felt a heavy weight settle in his heart. So even I, even my loved ones, will one day become like this. Channa nodded silently. As they continued their journey, Siddhartha encountered a second sight. A man suffering from illness. His breath was uneven, his body shivered, and pain was written across his face. Siddhartha asked again, "Is this to something that happens to all people?" "Yes, my prince," Channa replied. Sickness spares no one. A cloud of sorrow darkened Siddhartha's expression. The world he knew suddenly felt different, more fragile, more uncertain. Not long after, the prince saw a group of people carrying a lifeless body wrapped in cloth. The mourners followed behind, their faces filled with grief. Siddhartha's voice trembled. "Is he sleeping?" Channa answered softly, "No, my prince. This is death. All who are born must one day leave their bodies behind." Siddhartha's heart ached. Old age, sickness, death. In one single day, he had seen what his father tried so desperately to hide. The joy of the palace suddenly felt empty, like a flame flickering in the wind. But then came the fourth sight, a wandering ascetic. The man wore simple robes, carried no possessions, and walked with a peaceful smile. His eyes were calm, clear, and untouched by fear. Siddhartha approached him and asked, "Who are you? And how can you remain so peaceful in a world filled with suffering?" The ascetic bowed his head gently. "I am one who seeks the truth. I have left my home to search for the end of suffering. There is a path that leads beyond old age, sickness, and death." Siddhartha stood in silence, absorbing every word. It was in that moment, quiet, simple, yet powerful, that a seed awakened deep within his soul. He realized that the pleasures of the palace could not shield him from suffering. What he needed was understanding. What he sought was truth. And from that day forward, the thought never left him. There must be a way beyond suffering. There must be a path to lasting peace. As days passed, the images of the old man, the sick man, and the lifeless body continued to echo in Siddhartha's mind. They did not fade with time. Instead, they grew sharper, clearer, as though the universe itself wanted him to confront these truths. While walking through the palace gardens, Siddhartha often found himself stopping in silence. The blooming flowers, once symbols of beauty and joy, now reminded him of the impermanence of all things. Each petal, no matter how soft or fragrant, would eventually fall. One evening, he sat near a quiet pond where lotus flowers gently floated on the water. Their reflections shimmered under the fading light. A breeze rippled the surface, distorting the images, reminding him how fragile and fleeting life truly was. Keita whispered to himself, "Why must beings suffer? Why must they grow old, fall ill, and face death? If suffering is the law of this world, is there no path beyond it?" Though he was surrounded by the comfort of royalty, a strange emptiness began to fill his heart. The laughter of musicians, the fragrance of incense, the taste of the finest foods, none of these could quiet the questions rising within him. Even the delightful festivities arranged by his father felt distant. The palace shone brightly, but inside his heart a storm was gathering. He ate less, spoke little, and often wandered alone. One night, as he stood on a balcony overlooking the sleeping city, he saw families resting in their small homes, unaware of the prince watching from above. He wondered about their lives, the struggles they endured, the hopes they held on to, the pain they silently carried. "If I cannot answer the suffering of my people," he thought, "then what meaning does a prince's life truly hold?" His heart, once filled with simple curiosity, was now burdened with compassion, a compassion so deep that it outweighed his own comfort, his own royal destiny. And slowly, a quiet resolve began to form within him, like a candle flickering in the darkness, growing brighter with each passing moment. Siddhartha did not know it yet, but this fire within his heart would one day illuminate the world. That night, long after the palace had sunk into silence, Prince Siddhartha remained awake. The moonlight streamed through the carved windows, creating gentle patterns on the marble floor. Yet his heart was far from calm. He paced slowly across his chamber, the weight of his thoughts pressing heavier than any royal duty he had ever known. Each step echoed quietly, a reminder of the questions that refused to leave him. Why do people suffer? Why does everything we love eventually fade? Is there a path beyond pain, a way to free all beings from sorrow? These questions circled in his mind like restless birds searching for a place to land. The more he pondered, the clearer one truth became. No comfort, no luxury, no pleasure of palace life could ever erase the suffering he had witnessed. He walked out onto the balcony, letting the cool night breeze wash over him. Below, the gardens stretched out like a sea of shadows and silver light. The world seemed peaceful on the surface, yet he knew that beyond these palace walls countless lives were struggling silently. His heart tightened with compassion. He thought of the old man's trembling hands, the sick man's weakened breath, the lifeless body on the stretcher. Visions from his journeys outside the palace returned to him, each one sharper than before. And then, like a quiet flame rising in the darkness, a realization came. If I remain here, nothing will change. If I continue living only for myself, the world will remain trapped in the same suffering. He lowered his gaze, feeling the pulse of truth settle deep within him. For the first time, he saw clearly that the life he had known, the silks, the music, the laughter, the feasts, was only a veil hiding the deeper reality of human existence. Slowly, he closed his eyes, and in the quiet space of his heart, a seed of determination took root. It was not a loud or dramatic decision. It was calm, steady, unshakable. He knew that one day, perhaps soon, he would have to leave the palace behind, not out of rejection, but out of love. A love so immense that it extended beyond family, beyond kingdom, beyond himself. A love for all beings who struggled, hoped, feared, dreamed, and suffered. The moon dipped lower, and the first hint of dawn touched the horizon. As the sky slowly brightened, Siddhartha looked out one last time, whispering to the quiet world around him, "There must be a way, and I will find it." In that gentle morning light, the prince stood between two paths, the life he had known, and the destiny that silently awaited him. And though he had not yet taken the step, the journey within had already begun. As the years passed, Prince Siddhartha grew into a man of extraordinary grace and intelligence. The palace was filled with music, beauty, and every joy a royal life could offer. Yet, deep within his heart, an unshakable question remained, a quiet ache that no luxury could silence. He had seen the old man, the sick man, the corpse, and the serene ascetic. The images haunted him day and night. Why must people suffer? Why must every life end in death? Is there a way beyond this endless cycle? Though he lived surrounded by comfort, Siddhartha felt the weight of humanity's sorrow pressing upon him. Each evening, when the palace grew silent, he would step out onto the balcony and gaze at the moonlit sky. The stars sparkled like distant secrets, whispering truths he had yet to understand. King Suddhodana, worried about his son's growing reflection and silence, tried everything to surround him with pleasure. Festivals, music, dancing, companionship. The king hoped that by drowning him in beauty, Siddhartha would forget the suffering he witnessed. But the prince's heart was already turning inward. One night, Siddhartha walked quietly through the palace corridors. The lanterns flickered gently as he passed. He entered the room where his wife, Princess Yasodhara, and their newborn son, Rahula, slept peacefully. He stood for a long moment, watching them. The soft breathing of his child, the gentle rise and fall of Yasodhara's chest. It filled him with tenderness. Yet he knew that staying would mean living a life bound by the same sorrows he wished to overcome, and never finding the truth that could free all beings. He whispered softly, though they could not hear, "Yasodhara, Rahula, forgive me. I must search for the path that ends suffering. One day, I will return not as a prince, but as someone who has found the way." The moon lit his face as he stepped back, carrying a final glance filled with love and sorrow. Then he quietly turned away. Outside, his loyal charioteer, Junna, waited, already sensing the significance of the night. With unwavering devotion, Junna prepared the royal horse. Kansaka, a magnificent white stallion known for its incredible strength and gentle spirit. Siddhartha placed a hand on the horse's mane and whispered his gratitude. Without another word, the prince mounted the horse. A deep stillness surrounded them, as if even the wind held its breath. And so, in the middle of that quiet, sacred night, Prince Siddhartha began the journey that would change the fate of the world forever. The night was still young as Siddhartha rode farther from the capital, but each step of Kanthaka's hooves carried him deeper into a destiny that no prince had ever chosen. When they reached a quiet forest clearing, faintly lit by the pale glow of the moon, Siddhartha gently dismounted his loyal horse. The breeze rustled through the tall grass, as if nature itself had come to witness this pivotal moment. Got stood silent for a while, looking up at the endless sky. He removed the golden ornaments from his arms, the jewels that glimmered with the weight of royalty. He took off his princely robes, garments woven from the finest threads, symbols of a life filled with luxury and power. Then, with steady hands, he gathered his long, beautiful hair, the hair of a prince, cherished and admired, and took a sharp blade. In one decisive movement, he cut it off. The locks fell softly to the ground, like pieces of his old identity breaking away. At that moment, Siddhartha was no longer a prince. He was a seeker, a traveler on the path of truth. He folded the royal garments neatly and placed them into the hands of his charioteer, Junna, who had accompanied him on this final journey. Tears welled in Junna's eyes as he whispered, "My lord, how can I leave you here alone?" Siddhartha placed a gentle hand on Junna's shoulder. "Return home, my friend," he said softly. "Tell my father that I have gone to seek the end of suffering, not for myself alone, but for all beings. One day, when the truth is realized, I shall return." Kanthaka, the faithful horse, let out a deep, sorrowful neigh. His heart seemed to sense the separation. Siddhartha stroked the horse's face with deep affection. "You have carried me far, my friend," he whispered. May you return safely, and may peace be with you. Chenna finally mounted Kanthaka, turning back again and again as he rode away, the shadows of the forest swallowing his silhouette. And Siddhartha stood alone, yet completely free, wearing only simple robes of a wandering ascetic. He walked deeper into the forest, leaving behind every trace of comfort and privilege. The moon traveled slowly across the sky as if following him, and the cool wind wrapped around his body like a quiet blessing. For the first time in his life, every step he took belonged entirely to him. Not to the palace, not to his title, not to his destiny as a king, but to his own unyielding search for the truth. And thus began the great journey, the journey of a man who would one day become a Buddha. The night was still young when Siddhartha stepped beyond the palace walls. But as he walked farther, the world around him began to change. The lamps of the kingdom faded behind him, replaced by the quiet breath of the sleeping earth. Ahead lay the great unknown, an endless stretch of forests, mountains, and wandering paths where only seekers, hermits, and the brave dared to go. For the first time in his life, Siddhartha walked without guards, without servants, without the comforting presence of royal luxuries. Yet strangely, his heart did not tremble. With every step, he felt a growing lightness, as if a heavy chain had finally fallen from his spirit. The moon followed him closely, its silver glow spreading gently across the quiet fields. The sound of his footsteps blended with the whisper of the wind brushing through the tall grass. Somewhere in the distance, an owl called out, a lonely sound that echoed through the night. Siddhartha stopped for a moment and looked up at the sky. How vast the world truly is, he thought, and how little I understood while living behind golden walls. He walked deeper into the forest, where ancient trees stood like silent guardians, their branches intertwined above him, creating a cathedral of shadows and moonlight. The forest floor was cool beneath his feet, and the scent of earth and wild leaves filled the air. As he continued onward, he encountered a wandering hermit sitting beside a small fire. The old man's hair was long and gray, his body thin, his eyes bright with calm wisdom. Siddhartha bowed respectfully. The hermit looked at him and said softly, "You walk with purpose, young man, but you carry the weight of 1,000 questions." Siddhartha sat beside him, feeling the warmth of the small fire. "I have left my home," he said gently. "I seek an answer, the end of suffering, the truth behind this life." The hermit smiled, a serene, knowing smile. "Many walk this path, but only a few walk it with sincerity. The forest will test you. Solitude will test you. Your own mind will test you even more." Siddhartha bowed his head, grateful for the words. After sharing a moment of silent understanding, he rose and continued deeper into the forest. The hermit watched him go, whispering a blessing carried away by the breeze. As the night grew darker and colder, Siddhartha wrapped his simple robe around his shoulders. Though he walked alone, his heart remained steady. He knew the path ahead was long, perhaps filled with hardship, but he also knew something even more powerful. He was no longer a prince searching for comfort. He was a seeker searching for truth. And with every step he took into the vast forest, his resolve grew stronger, like a flame that no wind could extinguish. The horse moved swiftly through the silent night, its hooves barely touching the earth. The moon hung high, watching over the prince like a gentle guardian. The cool wind brushed Siddhartha's face, carrying with it the scent of distant forests, the scent of an unknown future. Jenna rode beside him, his hands trembling slightly as he held the reins. He did not dare to speak. He could feel the weight in the air, the weight of a decision so powerful it could shift the course of history. As they approached the boundary of the kingdom, Siddhartha stopped. For a long moment, he looked back. Beyond the shadows stood the palace where he had grown up, the gardens where he had meditated as a child, the halls where he had once heard music and laughter. And somewhere inside that great palace was Yasodhara, his beloved wife, and young Rahula, who slept peacefully, unaware of the journey their father was about to take. A deep sadness passed through Siddhartha's heart, but beneath it, there was something even deeper: compassion for all beings who suffered. Siddhartha removed the jewelry from his body, symbols of royal life that had never truly brought him peace. He handed them to Channa, whose eyes were now filled with tears. "Channa," he said softly, "return to the palace. Tell them I have left not out of lack of love, but because my love has grown too large to remain within these walls." Channa bowed, unable to speak. As he turned back, the prince took a knife and gently cut off his long hair, the crown of a prince. He placed the hair in his hand for a moment, as if acknowledging the life he was leaving behind. Then he let the strands fall. The wind carried them away. In that single gesture, Siddhartha abandoned everything: wealth, power, comfort, and even identity, to search for a truth that could free the world from suffering. He exchanged his royal clothes for a simple robe. Under the pale moonlight, he looked no longer like a prince, but like a humble seeker, a wanderer, guided only by compassion and determination. Then, without looking back again, Siddhartha stepped forward. One step, then another, leaving behind the life he had known for 29 years. The path ahead was dark, uncertain, and filled with hardships. But Siddhartha's heart was steady. For he walked not for himself, but for every being caught in the endless cycle of suffering, aging, and death. And so, in the quiet stillness of that night, the great journey began. The journey that would one day lead him to the Bodhi tree, to enlightenment, and to the dawning of a wisdom that would shine across the world for thousands of years.